All right, so I decided to do another live here on YouTube and TikTok where I thought I would talk about divination. Specifically, I want to talk about card divination, so using cards for it. So there's a whole bunch of different techniques and methods for divination. There's different forms of scrying. There's water scrying, mirror scrying, crystal scrying. This is where you're gazing into something to get images to pop up into your forefront and to kind of harness your psychic ability to kind of read signs based upon images that come floating into your head. There's also, of course, just reading people's auras. There are reading different signs within nature, like how birds are flying or how they land, how animals are walking. There's many different forms of divination. There is ogum or om, depending. I believe it's pronounced om. I've heard people say ogum, but it's basically the slashes that are used in some of the Druidic revival movements, and they would basically carve these different slashes in the sticks, and each one would represent a tree, and each tree had an association with it for divination purposes. So they would cast these sticks down on like a white cloth to read them. There is also runes that are used. I've got mixed feelings on runes. So to one degree, it's like runes are just letters, but there has been modern adaptations to using those letters for divinatory purposes. I have several card decks, so I want to focus on cards today. So I don't want to get too much into the different forms of divination. I am not very advanced when it comes to divination. I've done a little research on it. But for example, if I was going to do a reading for someone, which I don't do, I would need to reference books if I was going to do some form of card reading. The interesting thing I think a lot of people overlook, and if you're interested in getting into reading, it's real simple. You can actually go down the street and pick up a pack of bicycle cards and read off of these. Now, this, of course, is a little bit more than just your typical bicycle cards because they got some fancy designs on it, which make it kind of cool, in my opinion. This is a dragon deck, but it is still just your typical playing cards that you would find pretty much anywhere. And all of these have meaning and symbology behind them, so you can actually do readings with these. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more after we get a few more people into the live. Hey, Fedista, welcome to the live on YouTube. So once we get a few more people into the lives, then I will start talking about the playing cards a little bit more. Maybe even we'll do some sample readings just for fun. I have several different cards over here. Now, most people, when they think of reading divination, I used to use tarot for divination, but just ended up collecting the decks, right? And a lot of people do because the artwork is fantastic. The Rider-Waite deck is your typical tarot card deck. The interesting thing a lot of folks don't realize, though, when it comes to the tarot or tarot, depending on who you speak to, is it's actually a card game. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring up reading off of normal standard playing cards that you see today, because you can read with these as well. You don't need to buy a specialized tarot deck, which the tarot, as I'd mentioned, is a card game. Now, for those of you on the YouTube live, I'll go ahead and pop up some of the rules here. Tarot card game. And it talks about, there's a couple websites. You can go to any website that you want to, really, but it'll break down the rules, like how many points each of the cards are worth, and how you actually go about playing it, how you deal it, how you do different bids, pass, discard, playing the game. So tarot is actually a card game. Yes, it is mostly associated with reading, but no, it was not originally designed for reading, which a lot of folks don't understand. Interestingly enough, my personal interpretation when it comes to reading with cards is it's similar to what I was mentioning earlier with scrying. It's about bringing images to your mind to help you read and interpret them. You can tell the difference between someone who is into actual reading divination and somebody who is scamming. There are a lot of scammers out there. And the main thing that you can tell is how specific they are with their answers to your questions. Like, are they just giving you high level, oh, there's a person in your life that might be causing you turmoil. Well, that's a very general statement that's true for anyone. Versus being a little bit more specific. There's a member of your immediate household that's a male that's causing some turmoil specifically with your career. That's getting a little more specific. It still sounds vague, but there's the big high area vague where scammers will learn to basically have you tell them what's going on in your life, which I guess could serve its purpose to a degree, but mostly I feel like those are scams. Interesting. Sounds like gin or bridge. Right. Absolutely. And that's the thing. There are multiple ways of playing with the tarot deck as far as games go. There's several rules online, like I said, you could check out. I'll probably, once this video posting goes live, I'll probably put some of the links to some of the stuff that I was talking about as far as the websites, just for references, because they're kind of fun. But the point I was bringing up with the tarot and with the scrying is finding a tarot deck that feels right to you. Now, my favorite tarot deck is actually a tiny one. This was gifted to me, and as you can see here, this is a very, very, very small deck, about the palm size of the palm of my hand, and it's got some imagery on it. On the back here, it has these, it's like a reflection of an individual meditating. And there's a bigger version of this deck, but the images themselves are basically Asian images. So you've got like this one here, which is kind of cool. And it's got beautiful artwork. I mean, it has all the same suits, and it has all the same symbols that you would find in your typical tarot decks. But the big difference here is it's just displaying the imagery in a different way. So you want to find a deck that really calls to you and makes sense to you. When you look at these cards, yeah, you're going to start out by looking up in the book. That's normal. Typically, a lot of people will recommend that you start with the major arcana when you're trying to read for divinatory purposes. However, once you've done it for a while, you start recognizing the cards and you'll see other meanings. So just because this, I'm getting old. I'm getting very old. So this one here is the Emperor, right? So you can look up what the Emperor means and you can get familiar with what the Emperor means. But if you take the time to look at the image itself and see what else calls to you or speak to you when you're trying to use it for divination, then you're going to start seeing little bits and pieces in the background, like what sort of state is the person in. So we see a male character who is sitting in a seated lotus position, who seems like they're in control of meditation. There's a throne behind them. So you have, why are they not sitting on the throne? Why are they sitting in front of it? Are they disconnecting from this seat of authority? Are they still in power without giving the illusion of power and putting on faces? So reading other pieces into the actual artwork is why folks recommend that you try to find a tarot deck that actually speaks to you versus just using any old deck that's out there. And there's nothing wrong with getting any old deck that's out there. If you want the Rider-Waite deck, like most people have, you know, go for it. You know, get what feels comfortable for you. I put hair ties on this because I don't have a box that came with it. Like I said, this one was gifted to me, but that's probably my favorite. Then there's some other ones that I have here. Wow, we got some dust. So this one here is the Dragon Tarot. So I'll show that both on TikTok and on YouTube here. Different artwork, larger deck. This is closer to that standard size deck, and most of these will come with a book, and it will give you a book on how to read the cards. There are bigger books, and I'm pretty sure one of the Dragon decks that I have, because I have two, will also have with it a larger book instead of a quick reference book. Let me show you some of the artwork here that you can see in some of this. And of course, being, you know, my screen name being Blaze Dragon, I obviously love dragon artwork. So looking at some of these different images and stuff like that. And like I said, they just speak to you in different ways. And you can do a comparison, and I don't know if I want to like dig for the Emperor here. The Magician's a real popular one, right? So you'll see typical stuff when folks are using the Magician card and what it's supposed to mean, stand for, and signify. So you'll see some of the standard things there, but obviously this imagery is much different than you see on the Rider-Waite deck. The Rider-Waite deck, Dragon Tarot, right? Love dragons. The Rider-Waite deck will display an image of the Magician, and it will show him in robes, and he'll have a altar in front of him, and he'll have different elemental symbols in front of him. So you have something similar here, but what do you have here that's a little bit different than that Magician? You have a chessboard. You have a dragon in the background. He's holding the fire in his hand, even though there's still the candle representation of what's there in front of him. So having those significant little bits of differences, even though it can still represent the Magician, there's some variances based upon the way the artwork is done, which you can read differently. Now, my big thing is this. I feel like different types of divination are ways of communing. Actually, let me show you the back of these two. These are kind of a cool back. They're different ways of communing with the reader. So the reader is trying to find ways of, in essence, listening to the deck, but they're also listening to their inner voice. That's why I think the images being different and still being effective, are you finding what's right for you. Like I said, going back to the playing cards, it's about what makes sense to you, and it's about reading their meaning inside of them. I got two more tarot decks, and I actually have an oracle deck too, which is another type of divinatory deck reading. This is the deck I've used the most. So even though that little one is my favorite, this is when I first started getting into tarot. This is the deck I used, and as you can see here, the box is falling apart on me. The box is ripped. There's very little left, but it's an Inner Dragon Tarot, and I actually prefer this one versus the other one. This also comes with the little book, which I'll leave in the box here, so you have the little book on how to read this one as well. This I believe this is the first tarot deck I purchased for myself. Hello, missed you Twitch stream today. Oh, I'm sorry about that, X23. Yeah, it was an okay stream. It ended up ending pretty early though, unfortunately. And I think, let's see, so there's the Magician right there. So again, check out this differences on these magicians and stuff. So we got some chats going on YouTube. Hey, hello, welcome, Svek. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you on YouTube. Yeah, it's good to be back on YouTube and do some lives. Again, since I don't have any videos prepared, I thought a live might be nice, and then folks can watch this later, interact with me too during the live, and ask questions. Hey, Sword Sister, good to see you. Thank you for joining the Discord, by the way. Good to see you on there. I know I don't post much dealing with this stuff on my Discord, but it is available and it is there. I hope everyone's surviving the winter fairly. I absolutely am. I love winter. I want snow. I love when the seasons change. Hi, Svek. I bought Magician's Uni. Oh, I'm sorry. I bought Magic's Uni, used Mega Tier 2, Mega Rank Up, and Mega Uni tickets on her. Nice. So you bought the Phoenix 5 one, I assume? She's not a bad character. She's just also not like one of the top characters either. Hi, Sword Sister. Okay, cool. Making sure I'm caught up on the chat. So this is the Magician in this particular one. I'm going to show it to TikTok first, and then I'm going to show it up here to YouTube. So this Magician, as you can see, I mean, it's still the Dragon Magician. You have the elemental tools around it. You see the chalice, you see the fire, you see the sword, and then you see the orb there in the background as well on the pedestal. So, and you have the infinity symbol, which is usually depicted, especially in the Rider-Waite deck. They have the infinity symbol too. I believe it's on his belt, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have a Rider-Waite. I know I've seen one before. Maybe I do. Is that a Rider-Waite deck? I'll find out in a second when I open the last one. Probably is the Rider-Waite. But again, this time it's one dragon. You don't have a human. You have the dragon in the place of the magician instead of a dragon in the background of a magician. That's the other reason why I like this a lot. Here's another one with the death card. A lot of people associate the death card with, oh no, that's bad. It's actually not a bad thing. The death card is symbolic of change. It's the ending of one thing and beginning of something new. But looking at the imagery, like I said, of these different tarot really does make a difference when you're trying to do a reading for someone. Let me see if I can get these back into the box, what's left of them. I can't believe I still have that. Oh, wow. I have got some extra goodies in here, including a nice quartz crystal. Check that one out. Keep that with my cards. Some people actually treat their deck very, very, very sacred. So what they'll do is they'll wrap it in black cloth, and they will keep it wrapped at all times. Some will wrap it with a crystal. As you can see, I've got my own crystal inside of her. I also have my headband, man. Got my dragon headband in here too. This is a vintage headband. I got this back late 80s, early 90s. So I think it's cool stuff. I like that kind of stuff. All right, so there's those 3 tarot decks. So let's go to the next tarot deck. Then we'll go to the Oracle deck. And then we'll talk about playing cards and how you can actually read with playing cards. And then if anybody wants a reading, I'm going to reference some stuff because I don't do readings. And we'll see how it goes. And you can give me your opinion. All right, so here's an example. Black cloth. So you get your tarot deck and you wrap it in a black cloth. So apparently, I don't even remember which one this is. So this one is wrapped in a black cloth because that's what I was taught. So you do that, and I'm going to unwrap this. So it's nice and wrapped up here too. I don't even know what kind of... So what do we have here? Wow, I don't remember this one. Oh, that's right. This is my Celtic Tarot. Nice. So this one here, nice little Triskele on the back, just like my hand tattoo. So that's what I have tattooed on my hand, the Triskele. The Triskele we can talk about in a different video. It's actually a very, very old symbol that predates anything we know. There is a spot in Ireland, there's this tomb, and I can't remember the name of it, but it has the Triskele on the front of it, swirls on the rocks. We have no idea what it originally meant. I have significant meaning for it for myself. We don't know the original meaning, but the sunlight will shine down through this tomb in Ireland and light up the entire interior, but it only does it once a year on Yule, which is pretty wild. I played Marvel Future Revolution with Magic, decided I liked the character, and bought her in Future Fight. What's the right CTP for her? I would not put a CTP on Magic for Marvel Future Fight. I don't think she's a good enough character or usable anywhere. If I was going to put one on her, I would probably use a Destruction CTP. Sword Sister says, Death card is one of the good cards. Try 9 of Swords. Right? Exactly. The Tower was one I used to get in readings a lot, I think due to my inner unresolved turmoil. Absolutely. Yeah, technically I don't know if I really consider any of the cards bad per se. It depends on what the reading is. Change can be good, change can be bad. I mean, if you pull the Death card on a relationship and it's a relationship you want to keep, okay, that can suck. If you pull the Death card for a new job, if you don't like your job, that can be a good thing. If you love your job, that can be a bad thing. So it all depends on the context around it, which I think is the case for most of this stuff. Thanks, Blaze. Yeah, no problem. Just my opinion. Definitely do some additional research. So this one, here's this Magician card, right? So here we have the Magician again. Sure, that's TikTok first, and then we'll go up here to YouTube. So there's the Magician card for this particular deck. And as you can see, once again, we have the elemental tools all pictured there. We have wand, chalice, we have the candle for the flame, and we have, I believe, a feather. Is that a feather down there? Yeah, so we have a feather down there for air this time. I don't see, and again, since I'm getting old, I'm sorry, I don't see the infinity symbol this time. We usually, oh, that's an incense burner. That is not a feather. Huh. Yeah, that's the other problem I have with doing readings and stuff. The older I get, my eyes are starting to go bad. Yeah, I do not see the infinity symbol anywhere. They usually will have that associated with the Magician. But again, we have something very, very significantly different here. Now, we do have some dragons up there in the mist and stuff, but having this variety on the imagery and artwork, as I've said many times, is very important. But I absolutely love some of the images on some of these decks here. So, does it actually say which tarot deck this is? No. But man, that box is getting old. It's from Llewellyn. So those are the tarot decks I have. I don't really use them. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with tarot reading. You definitely got to do what's right for you. Find what works. If you believe in the tarot, cool. More power to you. If you don't believe in the tarot, that's also fine. Just like I mentioned earlier, it's a game. It is an actual game with tarot. Tarot were not originally intended for reading purposes, as I'd shown that website for. So I'm going to put it back in the black cloth. I'm going to stick it back into its box here. Oof. Maybe I should have wrapped it a little bit tighter. It's all fallen out. Good to see you didn't change your YouTube name. Oh, I'm never going to change my YouTube name. The reason I changed my name on Twitch was because that's for gaming, and this channel here is mostly for spirituality and mysticism and different type of critical thinking. You know, so it's a different channel, different type of stuff that I do on here. I do have my gaming YouTube channel that is also called Dragon Grove. It's called Dragon Grove Gaming, but I wanted to separate the two out. That's what I wanted to try to do. Or the profile pic. Yeah, I'm never. Yeah, like I said, this is my official Blazely Dragon. This is what it will stay. I've done the Blazely Dragon here on YouTube for years since I started YouTube. Have you ever looked into cold reading and hot reading? Fascinating subjects for magicians. I have not, truth. Not familiar with those. Hearing the term cold reading by itself, I would imagine that just someone following their instincts and literally just letting the reading flow through them and kind of coming up with whatever pops in the mind firsthand. I don't know what I would think a hot reading is, though. If that's what you meant by cold reading, yes, I'm very familiar with that, and that was actually my preferred method when I used to attempt to do readings. Fadista, I use divination from the environment around me, such as birds, animals, trees, weather, and from dreams. Very dynamic and immediate communication with the other worlds. Yes, that's what I was talking about in the very beginning of this live, was I was talking about there's many different forms of divinations, and that's specifically why I called out cards for this one, because I wanted to talk about card divination in this one versus, yes, looking at omens that are in the world around you, like which foot goes first into a room. If you could do a divination and your cat walks into the room, which paw goes in the room first gives you a yes or no answer, depending on how the birds are flying or where they land, or if you hear a bird cry at a specific time during the day. All of that is divinatory information that individuals and oracles and seers and stuff could use to read the future or fortunes of others. Absolutely. Good afternoon, Blaze. How are you doing today? I'm doing pretty good, Creature. Welcome to the live. How are you? So the next thing I wanted to bring up here was an oracle deck, because we've talked about playing cards, and like I said, we'll get into those a little bit more later, your standard everyday bicycle playing cards. We talked about how tarot is actually a game and not just used for divination. Now let's talk about one other type, and there's other types of cards too, but usually it's associated with, when it comes to divination purposes, you have your standard playing cards or modern playing cards. You have your tarot deck, which is an old game, an old style of playing cards. Again, here's the websites that show some of the rules. You can find plenty of rules out there on how to play the tarot actual card game. And I don't mean divination, I mean just the card game. But here's oracle cards. Now these were designed specifically for reading purposes. There are many different types of oracle decks. This one is the Druid Animal Oracle. So this one here is actually from Obod, Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids. Anyone who's been following me for a while understands that that is one of the groups I'm associated with. I signed up for their distant learning program, and I've been working with their Bardic study course for over the last 12 years. I never fully finished it. I never felt the need to. I've gotten a lot of great information from it. I really do like it, and one day I do want to go into the other two grades, but as of right now, I've not completed it. But you'll see in the top here, that's Philip Cargam and Stephanie, his wife, are the ones who came up with this particular deck. So there are other oracle decks, and this is just a different version. So this here, you can slide the box open, a little on the tight side, and it actually comes with a book inside of here. Kind of tight. This box fell apart. I actually had to use masking tape to keep it shut because the box fell apart, unfortunately. But it comes with this book here. And as usually is the case, your books will tell you how to read your cards. It's a nice book. Ooh, creaking like it's brand new. So in this here, and I of course took down some notes. So I did write in this book a little bit, but it will show the card and it'll show its meaning so you can read up a little bit about it. Now I do like these cards. These cards are huge, very big oracle deck here. Very nice and easy to see, especially someone like me who is having difficulty seeing the older I get. I'm 40. Anyone who's interested, you might not care. So this comes with a few things. So first of all, you separate the deck in the two piles so that it actually fits into the box. So that's what's going on there. And then it actually comes with a reading cloth, because typically when you do readings, you want a clean space or a sacred space or a little bit of both. So there's a blue reading cloth that comes with this oracle deck here. And then here's the actual deck. So not super thick, not as thick as the tarot ones, because again, this is not a tarot representation. These are oracle cards completely separate from the tarot. And the point of bringing this up is not all forms of card divination are tarot cards. That was my main point of bringing this up. Sword Sister says, any randomizer can be used for reading. Yes, as long as you can pull a set from a pool of miscellaneous items, bunch of colored stones, cards, leaves, winds, birds. Absolutely, Sword Sister. You nailed it. 100%. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Happy to be tuning in. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. Animal guts used for divination. Yes, yes, absolutely. So, and this was actually practiced. A lot of people want to associate it with modern paganism. Modern pagans, revival recreationists, do not read animal entrails. This was read, yes, by societies in the old days, and it was by many societies. Now, one of the things that I bring up when it comes to animal sacrifice and then reading the entrails for divination, I considered it to be part of the butchering process. They're going to eat that meat, especially in an old time period where you don't have the supermarket and store to go to. If you're going to eat the animal, you might as well read its entrails before you consume the flesh. So it is what it is. 40 isn't old, my friend. And that's fair. But it's the oldest I've ever been. In this lifetime, at least. I wanted to do their program, but wasn't sure how it was. Glad to hear your feedback. Yeah, I do want to do a more in-depth video on my experience with Obod, but my Walking the Druid Path series here on YouTube goes into some high-level information and wisdom that I learned while doing the Druid Path through Obod. I want to be very clear that Obod is a reconstruction. We do not know what the ancient Druids used to do, and anyone who tells you otherwise is lying. We have remnants, we have pieces, we have secondhand knowledge and experience. We have individuals like Julius Caesar, and we have individuals that were scholars and stuff in Rome, and I can't remember all of their names. Pliny the Elder, to name one that jumps into the top of my head. Some of the other names are a little bit hard to pronounce, and I can't recall. I have them written down, but actually, because I have it written down, let's go ahead and I'll pull it up later. That'll be a separate video. But yeah, it's a reconstruction movement. Today, modern Druidry is not ancient Druidry, and everyone should understand that. Going back to the Oracle deck, though, so here's the back of it. This right here is a doubled symbol, mirrored like on most tarot decks. So if you cover it up to about here and just see the 3 dots, that symbol, if you practice reconstruction Druidry, is referred to as Awen. It's the light of the 3 rays. So these are 3 divine rays from the heavens. So we're talking about male, female, unisexual. We're talking about old man, adult man, boy. We are talking about mind, body, and spirit. We're talking about the 3 selves. Love, hate, and no feeling, the void. It's the 3 selves. It's a very important symbol, and it's radiating down on us. Awen is divine inspiration. Awen is when divinity inspires you. It's like musing through the divine sources. It can also be referred to in Irish. It's called Emas, but that's what that symbol is on the back of the cards. But I'll show you a couple of these cards because they're not tarot cards. So if you don't get this Oracle deck, you're not going to see these cards. And I'm holding this in position so you can see them both on TikTok and on YouTube. So here's just a couple of these, and you can see some of the images there. And it's an animal oracle. So all of these cards, yeah, some of them are upside down because you mix them in different directions, because if they're inverted, it has different meanings. I'm not going to go through all of them, but it's just really cool images, and I think it's really cool to see. So I thought I would share. Maybe get a little bit closer with some of these images. Very beautiful artwork, real easy to see, nice, crisp, clear pictures. And then, like I said, with these, and here I'm going to separate these, put these back into the box, separate them into 2 stacks. This way they actually close into the box nicely. So if I take the book here, when you're trying to read, and you pull a card, because there's different ways to read, and it will go through here how to read them. Actually, yeah, it has a quick reference guide in the front too, which is kind of cool. So it has, like, for example, bear, Gaelic name. It has art, keywords, primal power, sovereignty, intuition, married with instincts, and it's on page 30 if you want more information about it. And then There's an introduction here that talks about how it works and where they got their inspiration from, the bright knowledge, and then you can jump down to these different points. I can jump over to page 30 for the bear to get more information on it. So I'm on page 38. 32. Okay, so here's 30. So here's bear. And as you can see here, I also hand wrote down a name. I believe that's the Irish name there that I tried to write down with it. So it starts out with the same thing: primal power, sovereignty, intuition, married with instinct. The card shows a bear standing by a cave entrance with a mace at its feet. Such a mace was found by archaeologists near Stonehenge. It is midwinter, the time of Ulban Arthur, the light of Arthur. At the winter solstice, a crown lies in the foreground, and we see the pole star shining brightly above the constellation of the plow, also known as the Great Bear or Arthur's Plow. Art connects you with the very deepest of your ancestral roots. Here at this level, you are in touch with the primal mother, the bear goddess, Artio, who will defend you fiercely from all danger. And then it goes to different stuff. It shows here, so if it's what it's connected with, if it's chosen in reverse, because again, it can be inverted. The tradition of the bear with the blessing of the great bear of the starry heavens and the deep and fruitful earth, we call upon the powers of the north from Druid ceremony. So yeah, that's actually in some of the Obod rituals and ceremonies and stuff. They'll talk about the different directions and the bears associated with them. So it's just, or I mean, the animals associated with the different directions. So it's really cool book. It's really neat to study this and get an idea and understanding for the representations behind the imagery. So again, images can play an important part to a degree, because we're going to talk about playing cards next and doing divination through playing cards, and then maybe answer some more questions. Sword Sister on YouTube says, as far as I understand, very little part of the actual sacrifice is meant for human consumption. Blood drained from the sacrifice for cleansing, heat, and prayers for the gods. And the meat is pretty much leftovers. At least that was the idea as far as I know. Oh, it's this set. That Animal Oracle is actually great. I think the same publishers have a plant oracle as well, and the imagery on those ones as well are stunning. Nice. Yeah, I haven't seen multiple oracle decks. This is the only oracle deck I own. I never really got much into reading with cards. I mean, I think reading with cards is perfectly fine. It's just something I never really got into much. But I still think it's awesome. So that's the tarot ones there. Now, with what you're saying, I don't know. Do you have sources that you can share? I don't have sources off the top of my head right now. If you would like, I could probably post something and talk a little bit more detail on it later. But from reading on stuff and reading about the time periods, at least in the Nordic Scandinavian regions specifically, I'll talk about those because I've read about those more recently. Even some of the Irish Celtic type of areas as well, meat was scarce. So I have difficulty believing they would just toss the meat. I could be wrong. Because, for example, in the Nordic I'm doing a lot. I hate and ums. It drives me nuts. I try not to do them when I make an official video, but when I'm having a conversation, clearly I bring it up at random times. But in the northern Scandinavian areas, they would have a feast after doing a big ceremony or ritual. So to me, it would make sense that the same animal they sacrifice would be the same one that they would use for feasting as well. But I don't know. It's definitely an interesting conversation, Sword Sister, and I'd love to dig into it more. I am open to sources and references. I am open to being wrong. I'm just sharing my personal thoughts based upon the little bit I've done, and I'm making the assumption. It's not like I have written documentation and evidence of this. I'm just having issues wrapping my head around the idea of just disposing of it if it's right there and readily available, especially in a time period where, like I said, food and nourishment was hard to come by. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I just did it again. But let's get back to cards for at least for this video. So let's talk about, again, playing cards, and let's talk about reading with playing cards. So there's a few different websites you can go to. I'm going to pop up one now, which I'll post later for folks not watching this live, but they're watching the recording at a later time. This is a cool site that breaks it down pretty nicely. So otherworldlyoracle.com. And this is, of course, doing... Now, they say tarot reading with playing cards, but tarot cards are playing cards. I don't... you get the idea, though. You understand what they're trying to say. It's reading playing cards. It's not the only site out there. There's plenty of sites. Talked about some background information and doing some readings here. So they talk about how they break the 4 suits down, and it's basically like the minor arcana. So you're talking about hearts is the same thing as cups, right? So your hearts are like your cups when you talk about the tarot, because they're trying to relate it to it, because most people that get into this had been introduced to the tarot at one time or another. And then we have spades, which they associate. Spades. And they'll associate those with swords. Kind of makes sense. You have sharp edges. Not sure about the cups and hearts yet, other than your heart can be full of love. But then again, maybe the association's there too, because you see the symbolism behind them as well. So, and then the clubs is the wands, the staves, which kind of makes sense to me as far as all of the ones that are remaining to associate that there. And then diamonds with coins or pentacles. So like currency and stuff. That makes sense. So your hearts are associated with love, friendship, and marriage. Your spades are associated with matters of the mind, intellect, mental stuff. Clubs is associated with spiritual matters. And then diamonds is about associated with finances, prosperity, and inheritance. So it kind of makes sense. Pretty straightforward. The kings and queens, they treat these kind of like the court cards. So your, let's see. So the king, queen, and page in the tarot are kind of like representing, the king is generally your old wise male. The queen is representing an old wise female, mother, matron type of deal. And the jack is associated with the pages. Younger male, younger female. And then the joker would be their association with the full card. And then you have the symbols themselves. So you have ace through 10. This is very fascinating, and I really like how they do this here. So they talk about stuff like individual new journeys, start of something new. So ace, something by itself, it's singular. It's brand new. It's starting the count out. It represents 1, or it can represent 11, depending on who you talk to. So I really like that. Lewis Carl, Red Queen. I don't know if I get the reference to that, Zokru, but welcome to the stream. And then let's see. So we have 2 here, and that's union, balance, polarity, partnership, which again, that makes sense. There's 2, and they're in unity and harmony, relationship, marriage, one other person that you're interacting with, balanced scales. That makes sense. 3 is creativity, rebirth, cycle, team. And I kind of think about that one along the lines of, if you think about a mother and father giving birth to a child, it took man and woman to create that child. 4, organization, practicality, foundation. I think of like a table or a chair. Not all tables and chairs have 4 legs, but your standard typical one will have 4 legs, because that's pretty base foundation. 5, freedom, change, and conflict. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to do that. The only way that I can think of that is maybe if you think of like a horse. That would symbolize freedom. 4 legs and a head. So there's the 5 limbs. Change, because you're going on a journey of some form. Conflict, I'm not really sure. Maybe because armored knights or armored warriors on horseback. I'm trying to think of ways of setting these in my head, and I can't. I'm too new to it. Like I said, I don't do this, but it's interesting and it's fascinating to consider. And this website is very similar to some of the other ones, but this is my favorite website out of all the ones that I've seen personally. 6, harmony, communication, compassion. I think of this sort of like we were saying with 2 is harmony and union, 4 is stabilization, 6 is this bigger harmony and communication. So I start thinking of a larger group, maybe like 2 couples getting together with their kids type of a situation. It's like a community type of a deal. 7, wisdom, reflection, and spirituality. The only way I can get that for me is 7 has always been a magic number for me. 7 is my favorite number. I just think of it as like a higher spiritual plane. If you look at Christian mythology, they have the number 6 is apparently a bad number in Christian mythology, especially if you write it 3 times, 666. That has got really negative associations and is usually associated with like hell and their version of whatever devil demon they have. And 7, I've heard some associated that with the heavenly powers, but I've always associated with earth and our current ground level experience. So wisdom, reflection, spirituality are those in the middle on our solid earth here, is one way to use that. 8, action, authority, self-mastery. 8, that infinity symbol, that universalness, the connection with all things, that kind of makes sense to me as well. 9, manifestation and fulfillment. Coming out of that 8, of that higher self, manifesting outside of it would make sense to me. And then 10, end of the journey, cycle completion, and renewal. That's the highest number out of the cards. So like I said, there's different ways you can think about it, and there's definitely different ways to read it. And we'll do a few readings here. If anyone is interested in some of those, we can do some random stuff just for fun. Who came up with the standard deck of cards? It's like Doctor Strange's book with the pages ripped out. I don't know. I know that there has been reading and divination for years and for generations. I know that there are associations with the Romanian gypsies. I know some other people and some other soothsayers have used card readings as well. Tarot cards, like I said, was originally an actual game set, a game deck of cards, and it eventually turned into folks reading those tarot cards as well. And I think the same thing could be said of the playing cards. So I think this is just like a throwback. This particular one I don't think is an ancient one, but I still like it. And like I said, at the end of the day, if you look at any form of divination, if you really think about it, divination is something you make up. And like Sword Sister was saying earlier, I believe it was Sword Sister, you can have a random assortment of anything that you can pull. And as long as you can pull from a pool of these random assortments, you can use this for divinatory purposes. Whether it be cards, which we're specifically talking about today, it could be rune stones, it could be, which, let's face it, the rune stones are just letters, they're just alphabet, but people have invented a way to use them for reading. You could say the same thing of like little swatches of color, like little pieces of cloth or fabric. You could use colored stones, you could use sticks, like each of the sticks could represent a particular tree, so you'd have a branch from each tree. You can use the ohm, which is the Druid method of having the little slashes on the trees. Each one of those slashes represents a specific tree, so it has meaning based upon the type of tree it is. I mean, there's just infinite number of possibilities. You could roll dice, and the number that pops up on the dice, there's tons of ways to go about it. So let's look at a few of these here. So we have some yes or no. This is pretty simple, right? So you shuffle it, you ask a question, you flip over the top card. If it's red, it's yes. If it's black, it's no. So if anyone doesn't want to be not inappropriate and want to ask a random question, feel free to ask a random question you want a yes or no to, and we will do a quick free reading for you just for fun. In Mortal Kombat, they use amulet to bring an elder god out from hell. Do they? I played Mortal Kombat, great game, but I don't remember that reference specifically there. All right, let's see. Questions, yes or no questions that you want read by a random deck of playing cards. So I'm just shuffling the cards here and trying not to drop them. Remember, red is yes, black is no. All right, no questions. That's fine. Let's how about this? We will ask, will Joe Biden remove the mask mandate for COVID before the end of the year, before 2023? Will he remove the mask mandate? And the answer is no. Go ahead, Fadista, what's your question? So no, and we'll see if that's right. So pay attention to those of you watching this. Joe Biden will not remove the mask mandate by the end of the year. According to the quick poll here. Will it... Go ahead, Fadista. Like I said, go ahead and... right, Moonfolk? Go ahead and ask your question. Yes or no question. I will shuffle once you ask your question, and we'll do that. And this applies to anyone. Anyone who wants a quick yes or no, and then we'll go on to the next type of reading, which there's a past, present, future, which is pretty typical. And then we can also do the one card pull for folks as well, if enough people are interested. If people aren't interested, I'm pretty much wrapping up the live at this point. I covered all the things that I wanted to cover in this particular video. But this end part here is for interacting with the audience. Will my new business enterprise work well? All right, so we are shuffling. So will Fadista's new business enterprise work well? All right, top card. Remember, red is yes, black is no. Yes. Yes, it will. So according to these cards, yes, it will. Any other questions? Yes or no questions first before we get into the actual readings? Will somebody else post a question? No. Okay, so we'll move on. So someone else is not going to post a question. Yeah, no problem. Then let's say, so there's this 3-card example. You can use this with any sort of oracle card, rune card, and it's pretty much past, present, and future. And basically, you pull your first card is your past, your next one is your present, and then the one after that is your future, and you're supposed to read them together. So if anybody wants a reading, and we will pop open my notes here, because I don't have all of these memorized. So here's my notes, so we can read it together. I will do a 3-card pull for anyone who asks. If nobody asks, I might do a random 3-card pull, or I can do a single card pull and just grab one card, and then we can say what it means and read it together just for fun. So does anyone want a 3-card pull or a 1-card pull? Just say me. Doesn't even have to be related to anything. You don't need to give me a specific question. You can just say, I would like one, and I will give you a reading, and I'll pull 3 cards for you. And then you can apply it however you want, since it'll be vague. Don't be shy. Anyone? I wonder why my lives don't get much on TikTok. At least we're doing pretty good here on YouTube. Appreciate you folks on YouTube. No one wants a free reading? Okay. Let's just do a random one so that we have something to work with, and then we'll end the lives on both TikTok and YouTube. All right, so past, we got the King of Spades. So this is the past here. So King has to do, again, this is you can see there, Spades is specifically related to matters of mind, intellect, power, action, courage, conflict, and communication. So this is a mental thing. The King generally represents an older adult male, wise and strong. So there's something in the past dealing with mental power. So I would take this to mean a teacher. So this has something to do with some sort of male teacher that I had in the past, some sort of wise sage that I had looked up to at some point. Next card for the present, we have the Joker. The Joker is the representation in the playing cards of the Fool. So you can see here, the Joker symbolizes change, the start to new journey, an inexperienced but curious youth, and beginner's luck, which is kind of wild because we're taking this original sage and then we go into this new journey and some new beginning. So let's see what the future holds. So the future holds, again, dealing with mind, intellect, mental power, and action. And the 10 is the end of a journey, a cycle of completion, a renewal. So to me, since I guess I'm reading this for myself, it kind of suggests that I had learned and looked up from someone in the past, and I'm starting a new journey of something, and I'm going to end it with some sort of a completion, some sort of finality along this spiritual path that I'm down. And it's interesting that they ended up both being spades. So it actually kind of makes sense if we want to apply it specifically to me looking at in the reading with cards, because of the way that I used to think about cards and how I was taught how cards worked at one time. And now I'm kind of getting a new inspiration and a new thought about how I would look at cards and readings and the ways that you would work with divination. I mean, I'm sure I could apply it to other stuff as well, but since we're talking about cards right now, I think that's the easiest way to apply this. So interesting. So there's a past, present, and future for myself. Sure no one else wants one? That would be it. That would be the reading, just like that. Draw 3 cards, past, present, future interpretation. Nothing long, nothing complex. Or we can do single card pulls too. So you can say single card or 3 card. TikTok or YouTube. Anyone wants a reading, doesn't matter. Hello, Colin Smith. Welcome. All right. Sword Sister wants one. Do you want a single card or a 3 card? Awesome. So which one do you want? 1 or 3? Three cards. Okay. So we'll just think about Sword Sister for a minute while we shuffle. I'm under the impression and belief that while you're shuffling, you think about the question that you have or the individual who has a question. All right. Sword Sister. 3 card pull, past, present, and future. And as you know, you're going to be the one who's going to take the interpretation out of this the most. So it'll still be fairly vague for most of us. All right. So for your first card, for the past, for whatever you're thinking of right now, we have a 6 of hearts. So the hearts is, again, associated with love, friendship, marriage, matters of the heart, emotion, intuition, and family. So this is something close to the heart. We have a 6, so we have harmony, communication, and compassion. So we're talking about in the past, you had some sort of relationship, be it a significant other or something with your family that you had a very close connection with. It was a solid communication. It was a solid relationship, and it was in harmony. So currently, though, we have now a 7 of spades. So the spades is related to matters of the mind, intellect, power, action, and courage. And your 7 is related to wisdom, reflection, and spirituality. So whatever sort of relationship that you had that was stable and in harmony, now you start are having a moment, I guess, of reflection is the way I would read into this. So you're taking a moment to reflect and reconsider things. So you're using your own mind and your own wisdom and your own knowledge to analyze the situation or the relationship to really interpret and understand what it means to you today. And what this is going to lead you to is a 10 of diamonds. So it's going to be a completion. It's going to be the end of a cycle, a renewal, and this is related to finances, prosperity, inheritance, career success, livelihood. So if we were to take this from the aspect of if it was a significant other that we're talking about, you had a very strong and compassionate relationship with this individual, but you started rethinking things and putting your own thoughts and analyzing the situation. And in the long run, what you're thinking of now is going to lead you to a completion or a renewal and better success and livelihood, financially speaking. So I can understand that being in a relationship situation, especially if that significant other is relying on you financially a lot or putting a financial burden on you. If it has to do with a family member, it could be the same thing. It feels like someone might have been not necessarily mooching off of you, but taking advantage of your hospitality and that strong relationship that you had. But rethinking it and putting your own mind into it, making those decisions looks like it's going to happen and better, help you out better in the long run. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that makes sense. You don't have to respond with details if you don't want to, but thank you for asking for a 3-card pull. Handling Design 101. What's Handling Design 101? What do you mean? And did you want one, Zokru? I'm losing my cards. Oof. And I'm throwing one on the ground. What card am I throwing? Really appreciate the reading. Thanks. Yeah, no problem. 8 of hearts jumped out for Zokru. Let's see. So the hearts is love, friendship, marriage. Again, it's about motion, family. And it's 8, action, authority, and self-mastery. Oh, that's interesting. So something, I don't know how that directly applies with your Handling Designs 101, but this popped out for some reason. Jumped out of the deck when I was trying to shuffle. I usually shuffle pretty much better than that. But something dealing with emotions and authority. You have your emotions in check. You've mastered your emotions. They don't master you. This is fun. Good demo of readings. I agree. I thought it would be interesting too. And like I said, I'm reading straight off of here. I don't do this regularly. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm kind of guessing, and making it up as I go along, but I'm using this as a guide. This tool here, which I'll share later, I just thought it would be interesting to assess and analyze it. Making matters in between states. Ah. All right, so final call for reading, and if no readings, I think I'm going to wrap up my stream, and I want to thank you all for hanging out. So I'll give it a few moments. Here, we'll ask the cards. I'll if red comes up, I'll wait a little bit longer, but if black comes up, I'll go ahead and end it now. Okay. Apparently I need to wait a little bit longer. Someone out there is thinking about a reading, but doesn't want to speak up yet. But the cards have said to give you a chance. I will end TikTok, though. X23, thanks for hanging out, man. Looks like you're the only one. If there is someone else on TikTok, I don't see them interacting, and it doesn't show in the top corner that there's anyone else but X23 online right now. So I'm probably going to end the TikTok live and just stick with YouTube in case somebody else wants a reading. So thank you, everyone on TikTok, for hanging out. X23, catch you later. Will my friend be okay from this recent illness? Okay, so that's a yes or no. So we'll go with a one-card flip, yes or no response. And then we'll follow it up with a one-card pull and see how the one-card pull. So will Fadista's friend be okay from their recent illness? Red is yes, black is no. Yes, they will be. Let's do a one-card pull to get some more information on the recent illness for Fadista's friend. So the one-card pull is a Queen of Spades, which means that your friend is a female, and it's a older female. So your friend is a female that is older than you, and it looks like this is, let's see, matters of the mind, intellect, power, action, and courage. Actually, the courage thing makes sense. So it looks like they're aware of what's going on with their illness, and they're being courageous, and they're fighting it. Now I'm kind of curious if it really is an older female that you're specifically referring to. You don't have to share, though. You don't have to say yes or no, but I'm curious, because if it is, that's kind of awesome. Slightly eerie, but awesome. Awesome, too. Well, cool. Thank you all for participating. I greatly appreciate it. Interaction always makes these lives more fun, in my opinion. So, thank you, one and all. I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up then. Y'all have yourself a great Saturday. Older, effeminate male. Okay. Fair enough. Thank you for letting me know. Represents an older adult female mother or matron. I wonder why that card came up then. Interesting. Effeminate. What does effeminate mean? Help me out here. Maybe that's... I don't want to assume the definition of effeminate. If I don't know something, I'll say it. I'm not going to BS. Having or showing characteristics regarded as typical of a woman. Ah, that makes sense. Thanks. Cheers. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you can let them know that you had a reading done, which this will be posted afterwards. Their feminine energy is more predominant. Thank you, Moonfolk. I appreciate that. So that kind of makes sense then, why then the queen would come up. So cool. So now you all have a new tool in your tool belt. If you ever want to try to do readings, you can just do readings off of normal playing cards. Honestly, if I'm going to do card readings, I think I would prefer normal playing cards because I do tricks, magic tricks, trickery and stuff. So I have tons of these. I've got... These are just the ones in reach. I've got these 2 and these 4. So I literally have 6 decks just in reach in front of me. And I have more decks in my kits. So I have them all over the place. And I handle them all the time. So to me, normal playing cards call to me more, I guess, than the tarot do, just because, I mean, the tarot are cool, the images are great and all that. And the Oracle is a nice deck too. I don't know. I just think it'd be kind of cool to use playing cards, get more traditional with it. They're readily available. A lot of people have them. They're all over the place, so why not, right? So, but yeah. You all have yourself a great one. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up for today, and we will catch you next time. I will try to do more videos and actually record some videos to post, but I do want to do some more of these lives because I'm kind of having fun with them. Normal cards are good to have for things like camping, more versatile. Maybe next time do some magic tricks. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing some magic tricks. It's hard to do from this angle, and I've got the weird background, but because I would need to sit up higher first of all so you can actually see my hands, or I would have to bend the camera downward so that I can do like the simple, even if it is like the simple tricks. Actually, yeah, if you take stuff like the little comb here and stuff like that, and see, you need to be able to see more of what's going on around you to do some of the cooler tricks like that. That's not a very good one. I don't have anything directly handy. I mean, I guess I could use cards because cards are right here. My card tricks aren't as cool. Usually when you're doing card tricks, you want to do something that's kind of fun. Yeah, some of these you would need to see my hands a little bit better, but I think I can kind of pull off this one here. Might be able to pull off this one. We'll end it with a card trick, because like I said, the cards and all that are always fun. So can you memorize those four guys there, the jacks? So what you do is, like, these jacks were out playing, right? And they were causing a ruckus, and they were pissing people off in their neighborhood. And they were identified, and they panicked and freaked out like, oh no, the cops are coming. Someone called the cops on us. So the first jack freaks out, and he runs down the street and tries to hide from the police. The second one runs next door and tries to hide from the police, trying to get away and trying to escape. The third one, he bolts down and he goes down a different side alley and he hides in a dumpster. And then the last one jumps outside into his car and he hides in the back seat. But the cops are really good at what they do. So when they going around, they go down to the one house where they saw the lights on. They knocked on the door and they asked, like, hey, is this one of the guys that was one of the culprits? And then they go down the street and they hear the trash can and they hear it banging around. They open up the door to the trash can and they see this guy. Is he one of the culprits? Then they go to the guy's back seat of his car and they look inside and they see this guy hanging out in the back seat. And then the other guy went next door. Well, he was still hanging out on the porch like an idiot. So they saw this guy staring out on the porch. So it's goofy. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's good times. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not like the best in the world, but I can do like levitation, fire tricks. I think I got a few posted on my main YouTube channel too. If you go back, there's a magic trick section if you want to check out some. But yeah, thanks for watching. Great energy. You remind me of a Quentin from The Magician. Oh yes, Quentin Coldwater. I love Quentin Coldwater. He was my favorite. I actually did a review of The Magician's TV show. He was definitely my favorite on there. So thank you. I take that as a compliment. Even though he was kind of whiny. Still take that as a compliment. You need to be further away from the camera. I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't have this camera set up properly to do tricks right now on a live. I see how that worked. Fair enough. Yeah, but that's the thing with tricks. If you know what to look for, it's easy to see. But anyway, on that note, you all have yourself a great one. Catch you next time. And I'm going to go ahead and end the live for today.